Hello friends, welcome to today's daily devotion. This week we have been looking at John Wesley's Rules for Money, and this is the final and concluding episode in this 3-week series of looking at how John Wesley tells us to gain all that we can by not hurting ourselves or others around us, by saving all that we can, by carefully evaluating how and when we spend our money, and then therefore to be able to do rule number 3, give all that we can. In fact, John Wesley says this, and I quote, "Making and saving money is nothing if we fail to go forward to the final purpose. Give all that you can." And to understand what this looks like, today we're reading from the Old Testament prophet Malachi, chapter 3, starting at verse 8 and reading through verse 11. Hear now these words. "Will a mere mortal rob God? Yet you rob me, says the Lord. But you ask, how are we robbing you? God says, in tithes and offerings. You are under a curse, your whole nation, because you are robbing me. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. I will prevent pests from devouring your crops, and the vines in your fields will not drop their fruit before it is ripe, says the Lord Almighty." Malachi is dealing with a people of his day and time who have said, God, who needs the Lord? And they refuse to do the things that they had been covenanted to do. And that included giving of their tithes. Now, to help you unpack what a tithe is, it is a 10% of our income being given back to the Lord. This was the Old Testament expectation of the minimum. Did you hear me say that? The minimum of what we give to the Lord, to give back to God the first tenth of what we have obtained. And in Malachi's day, the people were not giving their full tenths. And so God gives this very stern warning. You are robbing me. Now here's where it gets quite interesting and just a little bit tricky. Most of us are not giving a tithe to the Lord. Most of us are not giving 10% of our income as the first thing that we do every month, every pay period, every time that we get something. So we fall into this same category of the people in Malachi's day. We are robbing God, and therefore we are under this curse where our whole nation is not obtaining what we could be receiving from God. That's why God says, test me in this. Give me the whole tithe and see if you can contain all the blessings that I want to give to you. Well, John Wesley takes this idea and he expands it even further. He says, you know what, friends? This isn't about the percentage of our income being given to God. Wesley says, try looking at life this way. Number 1, provide for your own basic needs. The food and the clothing and those things that are necessary for your health and your strength. Number 2, provide this for your family. Whatever your family might be at this point in time, take care of these things, the food, the clothing, and those items necessary for health and strength for them. So your spouse, your children, if your grandkids are under your care, those kinds of things, go ahead and take care of them. And then with your surplus, Provide for those who are in the family of God, the family of faith. Give to your church and the needs that are present there. And if you still have some excess, then work for the good of all people, irrespective of where or what or how or why. In other words, John Wesley is not saying, just put in the 10% and then the 90% you can do whatever you want to with. John Wesley says, nope, it all belongs to God, so give it all to God. In fact, he says this, do not confine yourself to a percentage of income, whether 10% or 33% or 50%. Be it more or less, give God all that belongs to God. If there's anything that I have uncovered this week for myself in this, is that if I am giving, I am always receiving. Here's the big takeaway. You can't outgive God. The more you give away, the more you will have to be given away. God will not ever make it such that we cannot live when we give. And so earn, save, and give all that you can. This is what we strive to be at Goldston Methodist Church, the people who are living into this process. And that's the key. We are living into it. We are striving to obtain these things. And you are welcome to come be a part of that work together. We believe in the grace of God, in the generosity of God, and we are striving to be the people of God who live that out. And if you can be with us anywhere geographically speaking, come join us this Sunday. We will gather at 10 a.m. for Sunday school faith formation experiences, and at 11 a.m. we will be gathering for worship. We're located at 185 Hillcrest Avenue in Goldston, North Carolina, right in the smack dab center of the state. What a glorious place that we live in. I love living here. If you can't be with us geographically, then be with us virtually. Join us in the Facebook live stream or catch the worship service as it's posted to YouTube. Be a part of the people of God, living your life in such a way that you experience the grace of God powerfully, completely, fully. Let the floodgates of heaven be poured out into your life. And I'll see you on Monday for another daily devotion.